So, how's things? It's getting sunnier out.
I know. And more
It's
daylight. I mean, it's light right now. It's
right.
not dark.
I was just gonna say that it's 5 o'clock, and we're like, we still. It's like sunny out still. It's crazy.
Great.
Yeah, it's crazy how that like late, like early February, that the switch just flips, and then we just get way more sun.
Yep, we do.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So, well, we today I want to talk about minimum effective dosage, and the idea that, and you and I have chatted a little bit about this before on one of the previous calls, but I want to revisit this conversation because I think particularly for people over 40, many of them still working, minimum effective dosage becomes a really important part of like training because you got all of the things going on. And a lot of people feel like they can't figure out the time to get in and get their workout in or their movement in, and then also like get around the idea that we don't need more, right? And oftentimes we need less. um, and that's not to say that there aren't movements that aren't important, because there are, but you don't need to hit them all the time, right?
Right.
So they could cycle in and out of a program just so long as you're continuously chipping away at it. And if you're like, so if you were working on something like shoulder strength, and we decided that, I'm just going to throw a number out there, there's 5 key shoulder movements that you'd want to work on consistently. If you take 2 of those out of there, there's 3 of them, you're still getting shoulder strength. Hell, if you take 4 of them out of there and there's 1 in there, you're still getting shoulder strength, right? So you can still make progress and not do something
Yep.
because it's still part of the system, or it's part of the program. So like, most people don't stop training because they're lazy. They stop training because they feel like it takes up a lot of their time. And also oftentimes they don't know how to make that program in that minimal effective dosage and the effective part of it, the minimal and effective together. So the other thing is that for many of us, when we think about when we haven't worked out in a while, we always compare ourselves to the last time that we worked out. And then that gets down when you're in your 20s, that's okay, right? You can do that. But when you're getting older, that becomes harder and harder, because one of the things that I thought about, and I remember when I really thought on this idea. So when we think about like when we're in our 20s and we're, at or near peak physical capacity for like our ability to push hard, recover well, and get back up again and do it tomorrow. Well, one of the things that, especially in our generation, if you're a kid, most of us were outside playing on various different types of environment and equipment. So
Yep.
you're swinging monkey bars, running around with your friends, doing all the things. Somewhere along the way, they forgot that kids need to go run around like crazy people for a while to burn off all the excess energy, right? Somewhere along the way, the school system forgot that. And we think that we can just stuff them into a chair and they're okay, right? And, but what winds up happening that we don't think about is all of those years of playing in all of those crazy different ways that you played, right? They put our body under stress, and we gain tolerances to that stress. So when you're 20, you have all those 8, 10 years of building up tolerance to these different environments and different stimulus. When you're 40 or 50 or 60 and you haven't done that stuff, you can't compare yourself to the person that you were in your 20s because you don't have any of that training, if you will, from the previous 10 to 15 years. Oftentimes what happens for people is that they don't have any training. And so they're deconditioned, they need help with some muscle tissue quality. And also they need to really spend some time strengthening their tendons and ligaments. All of the crazy running and jumping around that we did when we were kids puts all of that stress on our tendons and ligaments. And there was a graded thing. Like when you were 7, you didn't go, most of us didn't go look at the thing that the kid that was 12 was jumping off of. Right? You were jumping off things that 7-year-olds would jump off of, and then jumping off things that 8 years would jump off of, 12, 13, 14, like, because also as you're doing that, you're getting that graded exposure. There's a inherent progression to what your body can handle and what you kind of have an idea of what your body can handle when you're a kid, right? So there's this graded progression that we go through that we don't even think about because it's just play. And so when we don't have that exposure, then our body starts to decondition, the tendons, the ligaments start to decondition, and then we're more apt for an injury when we go back to training again because we think, oh my gosh, I got to work really hard to catch up for the last 15 years or whatever it is, right? And then, oh, my shoulder. I don't know why I can't do that. I trained too hard, right? I'm getting old. No, you didn't. You're not getting old. You just didn't prepare your body well enough, right? So I think that's a really big issue too. Is that people want to go in and they want to train again, like they're younger, but their body isn't prepared for it, and then also, they don't allow themselves enough time for recovery, and that's a huge component. So that minimal effective dosage thing is a critical idea that I think that we should try and wrap our heads around so that we can hold on, I'm sorry, my phone just told me I have it plugged in. That the minimal effective dosage is an important idea for us to wrap our heads around because we need to really think about like how much time do we need to put into something, and then um, we don't necessarily we want to make sure that we're not dealing with an injury potentially in that situation. And that's something that I don't think that we really kind of wrap our brains around as well. Like we just can't think about like, oh well, I was able to do X, Y, and Z because I did X, Y, and Z before. But it just happened to be when we were younger. And then also, as our tendons and ligaments get weaker, um, because of less and less exposure, then the injury, uh, the likelihood of injury is higher. And then when we're trying to come back from that tendon injury, there's not a lot of good education around on tendon and ligament injury and how it takes longer because there's lack of blood flow. While it is semi-contractile tissue, it doesn't have the same properties that muscle tissue has, and so it takes longer to recover from. But then what winds up happening is, oh my gosh, my elbow hurts when I bend it past here. I'm not going to bend it to here anymore because it hurts. And we lack that graded exposure, and then we lose that range of motion. And those things become really super important as we get older, right? So, like right now, I'm working on uh, incline pigeon stretch or incline 90, right? And I'm trying to get my head to my foot. And my left hip is so much tighter than my right hip is so much tighter than my left foot hip. It's not even funny. But within the last 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, I've increased my range of motion there. And it's probably better than it has been in a long, long, long time. But that's because of that graded exposure. I'm exposing it to, but when I first started doing it, oh my gosh, especially on my right knee, my outer knee ligaments hurt like hell because I didn't have the range of motion. And so my femur was moving too much and my shin wasn't staying in place because my hip was so tight, right? I was getting internal rotation from my knee, not from my hip.
Mhm.
And so that's like we want to recover those ranges of motion though, because that's what's going to keep us durable as we get older. And then as you recover lost ranges of motion, and we'll talk about your shoulder particularly and some of the success that you've had there, or even your ankle. As you've regained those ranges of motion, what does it do for the rest of the joint and your ability to perform and do things and feel confident in doing things, right?
Mhm.
So I don't care which one you want to talk about, either your ankle or your shoulder or both of them. It doesn't matter to me because I think this is a great tie-in to this conversation. Because let's say in the last 3 months, 4 months, right? You've embarked on this journey of graded exposure, and it's made a pretty big difference for you, right?
Huge. Yeah. Yeah. I would say I
So
want to talk the shoulder because I'm just amazed because I haven't been doing the shoulder stuff as long,
yeah,
and I'm also not doing all of the shoulder protocol. I'm
hmm,
not doing the military presses yet. I'm just doing the Paul raise and the
yep,
rotator cuff and the
yep,
stretch.
yep,
Um, and I just cannot believe how much it has opened up my thoracic spine. I'm
yeah,
noticing a difference in how my thoracic spine is moving, how I'm connected more. My ribs are stacking more over my
yeah.
pelvis. I went to a yoga class Saturday and I did a chaturanga that was pain free and perfect. Only one, but I mean,
A win's a win.
I did one sun salutation, and it felt good, and I was like, oh my gosh, never felt like that, never.
Yeah. Yeah, uh, it's crazy how that happens, right? Like we just don't realize that we have this capacity, and again, it's because we just don't expose ourselves to those ranges of motion, and then progressively expose ourselves, right? So, um, and that's a funny story, or a funny idea that a lot of people would kind of maybe discount because the stereotype is that yoga is good for you, and I'm not saying that yoga isn't good for you, by the way, because it is. But how many times have you done that sun salutation and had it not feel like that before, right?
Most of the, yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, and you did more than you did it more than once, right?
Right.
Right. And so what winds up happening is that we think like, oh, I can't do that, so maybe I should just not do that.
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and not and not thinking about like, oh wow, that's information that my body's giving me about
Hmm.
this, right?
Right.
And so what winds up happening is that people, they shy away from things, and then what we find is when we start to reintroduce when we reintroduce or introduce uh, movements that we've previously done before that help to specifically strengthen the joint itself, it 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 does amazing things for our ability to perform outside of the context of the thing that we're doing, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and when we get you shoulder pressing, you're going to even be more impressed because like that is going to be like, like squatting for your lower body essentially, right?
Okay. Yep. Hmm.
So and also too, like, unfortunately, we've we've gotten away. There's a stereotype and a stigma around pressing above our head because we've been led to believe that we shouldn't put our arms above our head with weight. we would have died as a species if we can't do if we couldn't have done that,
Mhm.
right? Like
Mhm.
there's no way that we would have made it anywhere as a species, right? And so when we think about like everybody for a while, it was real popular to talk about brachiation or people swinging on monkey bars and hanging and how good it is for your shoulders. And I think it's great for your shoulders, by the way, because it puts load and graded exposure to the tissue, and you have to go through the range of motion with your load. But also, there's an inherent value to pressing above your head, because while as amazing as the power raise and the external rotation and that butcher block stretch are, you can't duplicate the force production of pressing above your head. And so, but that also comes into a function of graded exposure. It- as you're stronger, as your shoulders get stronger, there's a good chance that your confidence will get more,
Mhm. Yep.
and then you'll feel more confident in the ability to press above your head, because probably I'm gonna go out on a limb here. You probably tried to do some stuff above your head at one point in time, and your body was like, "Yo, not today, sister." Right? And
Right.
so now we just stay away from it. Um, and so yeah, but those little wins that you're getting though from like each time that you go strengthen your shoulders, and it doesn't seem like a lot,
Yeah.
but and in the beginning the load doesn't have to be a lot. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not lying when I tell you that I made 5 pounds look like freaking 100 pounds on external rotations and power rights for a long time, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Yep.
I mean, it was it was laughable. You know, I'm a relatively strong person until I did external rotations, and I was a very weak person.
Yeah. Me too. Yep.
But I'd never done that before,
Right.
and I'd never done a power raise before ever,
No.
right?
Mm-mm.
I'd never even
Never.
seen the damn thing before,
Nope.
right? So why? How am I going to get strong at AB deduction and scapular retraction if I'm not doing it?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and
Yep.
and yeah, you can do it with a cable across your body, or you could do it with a band, but it doesn't. That the load of the free weight completely changes the whole thing,
Yeah. It does.
especially when you're eccentrically loading it.
Yep.
So yeah, I think those are interesting. They're interesting things because we want to remember that the little things that we do each time, they add up, and we don't know what the net result of that is until you do something like your chaturanga and your sun salutation, right?
Mm.
And
Right.
then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh! And then how much more confident do you feel in your body because you could do that
Yeah.
thing again,
Right.
right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the big thing too. Like when I talk with people and they talk about, well, people think that I'm really motivated. There's a lot of days when I come out in the gym that I'm not so motivated, right? There's a lot of days that I wake up and I'm making excuses to not go to jujitsu as I'm walking through the house getting ready to go to jujitsu, But I go, and it's the consistency and the repeatable small wins that gets me the gains or the improvement, right? But there's a lot of times, and so having a system of how you do that, is the thing that wins. It's not motivation, you know. It's discipline and system, and then eventually it like motivation isn't even really a critical thing. And on the days that I'm really demotivated, you know what I do? I just don't do it. And you know what? The magic thing is that nobody died when I didn't do it. So long as I don't make that
A
5
habit.
days,
Yeah.
12 days, 100 days, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I make this this example every time, often, because I think for me, within the last probably 10 to 15 years of my life, this is the most significant thing for me. Well, moving here was part of it because I didn't really do much when we moved here because we were getting ready for the move. But that was a planned thing. When I had appendicitis and I had to get rid of my appendix. Um, that was a unplanned 8 weeks. And you know what? I'm just fine today. I skipped training for 8 weeks, right?
Mhm.
But like, I'm fine. I've overcome that thing, and I'm back to wherever I was or I am, you know. And so that's just that consistency and having that system in place, um, so that I know what I'm doing. I know what my goals are. I know the direction I'm going in, and my system includes times where like life gets in the way, you know. And I think that that's a real component for people, especially in the beginning, because people think that like I'm this super intense, high expectation guy. No, I'm far more patient than the rest of you because I know that it's not about like the next 12 days. It's about the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? And if you miss 6 months in 20 years, nobody would even know, right? That's not what we're taught. That's not the narrative. We got to go push and grind and do all that stuff harder. But, like really in reality, you can miss a couple of days in 20 years and be okay,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Yep.
So,
Totally.
eh, yeah, and then also like um looking at the uh looking at like having a good starting point and then checking in on your progress repeatedly. That's another thing that I think that people really miss out on is they don't have a good feedback mechanism because it's hard for people to remember who they were 3 weeks ago, let alone 5 years ago, and to see the progress in that time. And I think that there's a lot of inherent value in, as we do on Fridays here, celebrating our wins. Because now we have a running journal. If you want to know where you progress, how your progress is going, just go up into the wins category, find a post, and then it can tell you what you were doing 3 months ago, what you thought was great 3 months ago, which is probably like now, like, yeah, dude, that's no big deal, you know? But we need to remember that we need to be able to reflect back on those things as well, because it's important, I think, for our mental health when we're like maybe like, oh man, like last week, my cousin texted me and he's like, "Man, I had a bad bench day today. Um, you know, he missed one of the one of his set goals or his rep goals in one of his sets, and he missed it pretty bad, right? Like he missed it like it was pretty off. I'm like, chalk it up to crappy central nervous system day. See what happens next week. I get a text from this morning. Oh, that went way better today. I'm like,
Mm. Yeah.
like
Mhm.
but our brain, fair enough, is programmed to reflect on the bad days because that's part of our survival mechanism, right? And so that's an important thing for us to think about is that like we can't let our brain trick us into believing that all the bad days are bad days. You know that's a straight path to nihilism, and nihilism's not a very good place to live, right? So yeah, so I think that most people could get away with somewhere between 30 and 50 minutes, you know, 2 to 3 times a week and make some really good progress. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
if you're crazy like I am, you're 4, 5, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
But even in my uh, I'm in the gym here most of the time, 6 to 7 days a week, plus my 4 hours of jiu-jitsu. But on Sundays, my Sunday days are really just mess around days. I'm just monkeying around with stuff. And the loads aren't really heavy. I'm just playing around with different ideas. I'm working on like some range of motion things on Sunday, right? Some mobility stuff. So and working on things where my mobility is really terrible. So I have no choice but to not load them. Or if I do load them, the load isn't very big. So it's not hard on my nervous system. I just need to make sure that my tissue recovers. So, like you could get away with 2 to 3 days if you're have a good system in front of you and a good program in front of you and make great progress. You know?
Well, your guy, knees over toes guy, he was saying he does 3 days a week
Yep.
because he's
Yep.
got such, he's a parent and he's got
Yep.
a busy schedule, and
Yep.
he looks to me like he's doing just fine on 3 days a week.
100%. 100%. 100%. Yeah. And also like we have to think about it. If this is a lifestyle that we're going to take on for the next 30 years, right?
Hmm.
There's going to be seasons in that time frame.
Right.
So where he's at, I was that guy. Now I'm not that guy anymore. Like I have a lot of my friends still have young kids, and I'm like, we are on the other ends of parentdom. You've got kids, you need to be attached to stuff. I got a 20-year-old. I I don't know that I'll see him. I saw him at 6 a.m. this morning. I don't know that I'll see him until tomorrow morning. Right. And so, like I've got way more available time to do stuff.
Yep.
I mean, Melissa's on call sometimes. And so, like, literally, I'm a bachelor for the whole entire day. I can go do whatever the hell I want to do, you know?
Hmm.
So, but some people are in seasons of their life that they can't do that, right? Between family, job, obligation, family obligations, things like that. And so, how do you create a system around that so that you can get done the things that you want to get done?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, anything to add to that, Sonia? Any pieces of wisdom or advice or whatever?
Just keep doing it. I mean, I have those days where I just don't feel like doing it, but I go down and I just consistency. It's really the consistency and letting go of the perfectionism too,
Yeah,
having to do everything just exactly right, and everything. It's like, just do it.
right.
Just do it.
Yeah, and that perfectionism thing, like it's such a spectrum, right?
Hmm.
So when we talk about moving really heavy loads, in theory, you want it to be perfect. But when you watch people that move really heavy loads and you talk to them after they've moved the really heavy loads, like powerlifters, Olympic lifters, they can tell you what they can tell you what went wrong in a successful lift.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, something went wrong, and everything was still okay,
Right.
right? So perfectionism is a spectrum, and the way that I program, especially in the beginning, you've got such a wide margin for error because we're trying to build capabilities and capacity, work capacity. And I understand that that isn't something that we're going to gain in 4 weeks. Like literally, I was talking this morning on one of the collective calls this morning, and literally last week, I've been doing split squats for 4.5 years. Last week, I got to a new depth on my split squat. Like my knee opened up and my hip opened up, and I got down lower than I've ever possibly got before.
Hmm.
And so, that's just a culmination of the years of doing that movement, and then progressively loading it, right?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, have I had lots of terrible split squats? Yes,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? But, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much, Like you
No.
said, the consistency, just going to do the thing is the
Yep.
thing
Matters.
that really helps us to turn the corner.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I need to look at your Patrick step. I will
Okay.
look at that.
Yep.
I had a bunch of stuff during the middle of the day today.
Okay.
And so I will look at that, and I'll get back to you tomorrow, and then
Okay.
we'll talk about it more next week.
I will not be here next week, though. I am on
Okay.
vacation
Oh,
next
where are you
week.
going?
We're
Where are you
going to
going?
Gulf Mississippi
Oh, cool.
for a
Cool.
week down by the
Nice.
beach.
Nice.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so then I won't see you for 2 weeks then because the following week I'm going to Mexico for my birthday.
Are you? Oh,
Yeah. Yep. So, but I'll look at the videos. I meant to look at them today and then I just
yeah.
got into stuff and I couldn't. But I'll look at them tomorrow and then,
Okay.
I'll send you some video back on it.
Okay. Cool.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right.
Right.
Well, Sonia, thanks for spending another 30 minutes with me. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Um, have a good time on your vacation and, we'll chat in about 3 weeks or so.
Okay. And you have a good time too.
I will. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye bye.
Yep. Bye bye.